welcome to the State of Build address and to the Kuali Build Kuali Days. We're super excited to be with you. This session will be Tad, Giles, and myself. I'm Joel Dehlin. I'm the CEO of Kuali and the founder of the company. Tad Giles is now the Chief Technology Officer. That will be a surprise for some of you. He was most recently the General Manager of the Kuali Build product. And we're excited that he's taken on the role of Chief Technology Officer for the company. He's responsible for design, product management, and engineering for Kuali. So my name is Joel. I'm not going to go into my background. I know many of you, but I founded the company and I'm the current CEO. And welcome to Kuali Days 2021. We invite you on the socials, whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever, to use this hashtag. We'd love to have a conversation there or in the Socio app. You can use that. There's just one pro tip. There's a conference app, and I'll show you how to download it in just a minute. But in the conference app, you can give live feedback. So we invite you to give the feedback either throughout the sessions or in between sessions to have a conversation with one another. So a year ago, this is not what we expected, any of us. So our lives have been disrupted for the last year. So we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We have a record high number of participants, partially because of the fact that it's remote and virtual, which we're grateful for, and partially because we have so many new customers and many more people are coming. Just some structural information about the sessions this week. First, there's an app. So the app is a Socio. It's called SOCIO, but you don't download that. You just download Kuali Days 2021. So if you look for that, we invite you to download the app, and there are lots of things that you can do in the app, including putting your profile information in and chatting. In some of our sessions, it will not be a webinar format. It will be a Zoom format. So in those sessions, we invite you, if you can, to turn your camera on. It just makes the experience a little better, but we also understand if you cannot do that. We also ask you to keep your mics off unless you want to bring something up, and we invite you to do that. If you want to ask a question or whatever, you can either use the chat function in Zoom, or you can turn your mic on and ask a question. But when you're not doing that, please leave your mic off so we're not hearing your dog barking or your sirens or your kids screaming, which mine do all the time. When you go to the website or to the app, please put your profile information in. You can click here and you can put information about yourself, your picture, your bio, whatever. It just helps us to have a little bit of a social experience that we're missing by not being together. And we found in the last 2 weeks, as we've been doing Kuali Days, that there's quite a bit of opportunity to chat with each other and connect outside of the actual sessions. And we encourage you to do that. So whether it's you know, finding somebody's name in the participant list and connecting with them offline in a one-on-one, or chatting in the Socio app, or doing things in LinkedIn or Twitter and having a conversation, let's try to make this as social an experience as we can to try and make up for the fact that we're not all together. We ask you to be on time for the sessions. So we'll usually start about 2 minutes after, giving people time to get into the lobby once we open up the gates. And again, please do ask your questions. If any kind of questions you have, let's get those out in the open and talk through them. For all of the sessions, please rate the sessions. They really help us to know what kind of content you're interested in. So please take the time to rate the sessions in the website or in the app. All right, let's talk about Kuali. Kuali is, we believe, we're focused on amazing software for higher education. So we're a modern software development company and hosting and cloud company, but we're totally focused on higher education. But the community is included. So what that means is we're focused on 4 key decision makers: the chief information officer, the VP of research, the CFO, and the provost or the registrar. So those are our kind of 4 target focuses. And we're trying to help higher ed succeed in its mission. Its mission is student success, research, and community service. And not everyone at this company, but there are quite a few people at this company for whom that specific mission is very motivational. We want to feel like we're making a difference, that we're helping the world in some way. And so the way that we do that in this company is by helping higher ed. We believe that higher ed, and you're all faced with this pressure, especially this last year, to act with agility, to do things that you hadn't anticipated the month or the quarter or the year before. At the same time, we're being pressured to do more with less money. So there are a couple of problems with trying to do that. One of the problems is that our systems are actually quite inefficient. Sometimes you'll buy software and the software actually makes your job harder or worse, or makes people sadder because they have to use this particular system. And often vendor relationships are difficult. So vendors can be hard to work with. We recognize that. We deal with vendors ourselves. So we want to be not part of that problem. We want to be part of the solution. So in 2004, actually technically 2005, the Kuali Foundation was formed, and a bunch of universities got together in order to create their own software and had great success. They created a great financial product, a great research product that was initially built by MIT, and a great continuity planning product that was initially built by Berkeley. It was an open source community, and in 2014, we decided to get the best of both worlds, a robust community focused on an ethos and a higher ed specific set of software modules, marrying that with a company, where a company would be hiring professional developers, hiring professional designers, and customer success and sales and marketing, and being accountable for growing and things like that. So we look at Kuali as a mix between this initial Kuali community and foundation and having a company that can be self-perpetuating. And we've had a lot of success. So we've signed up a lot of new customers, and this is just a small sample of the customers that have come in, that were either there originally or have come in the last few years. We're a company focused on a great user experience, on modern software technologies as well as techniques, and a really robust and awesome community. I think there are a lot of vendors that would claim that they have that, but we believe that we really do. And you'll see that as we talk throughout this week. I hope that will be evident to you, that we're focused on all three of those things, and I think a really nice mix of all three of those things. I talked about the 4 decision makers that we're focused on. We're a modular software company, so we don't do a suite. We're not building a student information system. We don't have an entire suite with HR and the whole bit, but we have a set of modules that are focused on those 4 decision makers. And we come out with 1 to 2 modules every year. So we're continually coming out with new modules. This year for student, we're coming out with the syllabus management module. Last year, at the very end of the year, we came out with the new export controls module for research. And you'll notice that quite a few of these modules we built over the last few years. Now, some of them were modules in the Kuali community before, and some of them we built subsequently. What we're going to do in this time together is I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on the company. What Tad will do is Tad's going to come in and talk a little bit specifically about Build. So he'll have some slides to show you about Build, what we accomplished this last year, show a little bit of the product, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more about the conference and what's going on in the future of Build. So Tad, I'll turn the time over to you.
Great. Thanks, Joel. Hi, everyone. Excited to see you. For me, Kuali Days has been one of the highlights of every year that I've been at Kuali, and I'm finishing my 6th year at Kuali now. We're going to talk about Build. And first, I just wanted to recap why Build. What's the problem that we're trying to solve? One of the problems we're trying to solve is that there are still too many paper and PDF forms on campus. Pre-COVID, that was true. Post-COVID, paper can't exist anymore and has to be killed. And there's lots of efforts on campuses across, on all campuses, to kill paper finally, because it just can't work that way anymore. And that's the problem. One of the problems Build is trying to solve. Another problem Build is trying to solve is the problem of gaps. And one of our colleagues, Dr. Pat Burns at Colorado State, said this perfectly a while ago in our discussions about this. He says, between all of our large systems and the solutions that we have on campus, there are always these little needs, these little gaps, and they are chronic and pernicious, and they're everywhere. And as we've looked at this problem from the Kuali Build perspective, we've been trying to understand, why is that problem still there? And one of the reasons is that we're not attacking the problem at the source, which is the non-technical admin in a department who's asked to create that study abroad program to Italy that's just been announced. And they need an application where students can sign up for that. And that person typically will turn to what they know, and they know Word or maybe Adobe Acrobat, and they'll create another paper form or a PDF. They don't even think to talk to IT, because they know that can't rise to a priority with all the other things that are being done on campus. And that's where these gaps get created. And so Build is focused on that thing. There's a lot of solutions in this area, and we found a lot of different products that are out there. And most campuses actually already have 4 or 5 of these kinds of products. On one side of the spectrum, you have very easy, simple to use things like Google Forms. Almost anyone can pick that up and create a form and deploy it and get use out of it. It doesn't require an engineer. It's cheap or free, but it doesn't necessarily meet all the business requirements. Doesn't necessarily provide automation for like automating a process for approvals and reviews. It doesn't necessarily have good access control and data management controls around it either. On the other end of the spectrum, you have products like Salesforce that provide an entire application development platform, and they can solve almost any problem you have. It's just a matter of how many engineers and how much money you want to spend. But they provide very robust systems. But the non-technical person can't do that. It requires engineers. So Kuali Build is in this sweet spot in the middle that we've identified, where we need something that is simple and easy to understand for non-technical people. You don't need to be a programmer to use Build. But more importantly, it still meets the business requirements. It has to be powerful enough to solve the problem and to be able to address the needs of automating an approval process and those types of things, and have data management around it to control access. But it needs to be done in a way that non-technical person can do that. We see a real partnership between IT departments and business users with Build. On one side, the IT department, in terms of vetting a system for campus, they care about security and compliance and accessibility and mobile readiness. Business users care about those things as well. The IT department also has its own backlog of work that it needs to do, and we think Build can help them address some of their backlog in a fast order as well. On the other side, the business users, Build allows the business user to use a platform that's approved, embedded, and supported by the IT department, but doesn't require constant support and help from the IT department. And the business user can work independently to create a solution, deploy that solution, and manage that solution to accomplish its need. And that's where Build is trying to play. We thought it might be interesting to take a look at the past of where Build came from, and a little quick story of how this came to be. To understand where Build came from, you need to understand that we had a project called Core, and we started the Core team early in the company when the company was formed. And the Core team was charged with creating some shared capabilities that could be used across Kuali products. And so one of those is authentication and user management. And today, when you sign into a Kuali product, you're using code that was created by that Core user management and authentication system. We're also looking into doing forms work and workflow work that could be shared across products. Early on in this effort, one of our engineers, on a quarterly basis, we have a hack week, we call it. and for a week, we allow our engineers to just work on whatever they want to, as long as it's something that they think will benefit the company. So rather than working off the prioritized list given to them by leadership, for that week, they get to work on whatever they want. And so in one of those Hack Week projects early on, one of our engineers created this visual form editor that allowed you to pull from the right and pull drag and drop items onto a form and create these forms. And at KCW in 2017, we demoed this very limited proof of concept, barely a proof of concept, to a group of CIOs from some different institutions. And they got super excited. My favorite quote from that group at the time was one of the CIOs said, "If you will develop this and release this as a product that I can use, I will go around my campus and pay $500 a piece to the admins to convert their SharePoint apps to this." He was that anxious to get off of SharePoint. It was causing him problems. And so those comments made us think there's something interesting there. We're not anywhere near like deciding to create a product, but we decided we're going to go explore this visual editor and look at some more things. Along this time, this core team, we're building out this functionality of some form capabilities and some workflow capabilities, and we're wanting a way to test that and test that they work together. And we came up with this idea of creating this thing we called App Builder. And so the first version of App Builder was really a test harness to be able to test the capabilities of core. But it very quickly started to become something interesting. And so this is one of the early snapshots of what App Builder looked like. And you'll see that it now has a form editor, and there's workflow and permission management, and a way to publish that and share it for testing. And we created this workflow editor as well to support that. And so then we started to, that started to get more interesting. And at Kuali Days 2017, we did our first public demo of App Builder and just showed the ability to create this simple form with a little bit of automated workflow and publish it and get an email response. And so that's where things started to become, it started to evolve, and we started to think about this as a potential product. Along the way, we've had some detours where we've done some things that are just odd and that we no longer do. One of those detours was we made a major shift at one point to a different type of form designer that was more abstract and more database oriented. And we took away some of the drag and drop and created this structure that just was not as friendly and accessible as our customers wanted. And so that's no longer there. And we now have our drag and drop interface that we have today. Another thing that I personally am accountable for is I had this idea early on that we could use these rich photos to be essentially the icon for an app. And so for a while, this was the dashboard for App Builder. And it allowed you to select from a rich library of photos to select the photo that perfectly represented your application. But we found this really odd thing. Because the photos were so high fidelity, it was causing end users who started to use this product anxiety. They would get stuck on what's the perfect photo and how do I find the right photo? And it was giving them pause and concern. And we decided that just didn't make sense. And that's why we ended up back where we are today with icons. In 2018, we officially kicked off the design advisory board for the Kuali Build product. And this is when we're starting to get serious about, we want to turn this into a product, and we're going to, and we gathered partners to come help us design and be the earliest early adopters of this. And University of Hawaii, Michigan, Brigham Young University, and UC San Diego were those partners. They have been exceptional partners, and we all are grateful to them for the work and effort they've put into helping us understand the problems that this product needed to solve, and making sure that it's accomplishing that it is solving those problems. They've been invaluable to us as partners, and been some of our earliest adopters, but also our earliest advocates as well. So then we came to Kuali Build, and we changed the name to Kuali Build, and we introduced Kuali Build in 2018 at EDUCAUSE and Kuali Days that year. And quickly later in 2019, we introduced the icons and the simplified user navigation that you're a lot more familiar with today. And that's where we got to Kuali Build. And ever since then, you're just seeing us build and iterate. So since Kuali Days last year, we've been doing a ton of work. And we went and I went and cataloged the work that we've done since last Kuali Days. We introduced our drag and drop workflow, which allows you to drag entire sections and branches and controls around on the thing to reconfigure it in the simplest way possible. We introduced copy, paste, and undo to the workflow designer. And we introduced the workflow simulator, one of my favorite features that allows you to test the workflow thoroughly before you actually deploy it and put it out into use. Testing workflows was one of the biggest pain points of the product before Workflow Simulator, and now it's a simple, easy process. We also introduced draft mode, which allowed you to, for an application that's already deployed, you could come in, make some changes to the form, make some changes to the workflow, test those things, make sure everything's working, do that all in a draft mode, and then publish that as a new version of the application. We also introduced in-app notifications that allow you to notify you when new features release or when they're coming soon. We also updated the look and feel of our forms to clean that up a little bit. We introduced the signature gadget, which in Canada and the United States allows you to create a legally binding signature, e-signature for a given document or form. And we introduced the image gadget that allows you to upload and display an image on a form as part of the filling out the form. And then one of my favorites is smart data gadgets. So these are the gadgets that really moved us forward in allowing non-technical people, providing a way for non-technical people to insert data from other systems into their forms and to update that data and to pull data in autofill fields on the form and do it in a way that a non-technical person can work with those things. And then finally, we introduced form edit controls. This is what we allowed is on a given workflow step, you can configure for each section in the form, you can configure whether it's view or hidden or editable, which gives you a lot of control as a document goes through workflow. You can show and hide sections of the document and turn on editability on the document based on where it is in the workflow process. And that's allowed a lot of flexibility around our workflow design now. And then just a whole bunch of other things as well. Just this last month, we introduced the ability to put variables in subject lines, the ability to configure the notifications that get sent out for approvals and acknowledgements. You can finally override those and change the messaging that goes out with those. And we added the ability to assign permissions to a role in a group, not just to a group as we've done before. And finally, the ability to duplicate an app and allows you to duplicate an app and use it kind of as a template for the next thing. A lot of this last year has been when things have really taken off in terms of the usage of our product. To date, we now have 888 applications created in the product, and we have over 146,000 submissions have been submitted for the product. If you look at this chart details the number of submissions submitted per week across all of our customers, across everyone using the customer. And you can see that back in May of last year, things really started to take off, and our customers started to deploy a wide variety of applications. And you can see as things go to the beginning of January, there's a big spike as some of our customers deployed some student-facing applications that involved a lot of activity in those early days. But you can see overall, there's a trend. It's going up. The usage with our customers, our individual customers, and across all customers continues to go up. One of the things I'm personally the most pleased with, that's actually one of our key drivers for me and for the people who make this product, is customer satisfaction. And customer satisfaction is like the term for it, but internally we talk about it in terms of happiness, customer happiness. We want our customers to be happy and thrilled with our product and delighted with their product. And one of the ways that we've seen that is we've seen on the Gartner Peer Insights reviews, where customers can post reviews about different products. We had 13 reviews posted this last year, and they were all 5-star. They all gave 5-star reviews, the highest review possible. We're really proud of that. That's one of our primary things that we're trying to accomplish, is to create a product that people enjoy, that solves their problem, but that actually is a little fun to work with. And we've had a variety of different comments from customers. Customers who talk about how intuitive the product is, how the licensing model works with higher ed, how it can integrate easily with other systems and other platforms. They talked about how the service is top notch, and that the build team has your back. And that's something we put a lot of focus in this last year, is to provide a way for our team to be as responsive and supportive as possible to our customers. And we're proud of that result. And I'm grateful to our customers who have come in and done so many great things with our product. And speaking of those customers, I want to just highlight a few things that have happened across some of what our customers have done with that just quickly. I want to talk about Colorado State, who last summer had an immediate emergent need that they needed all employees and students to acknowledge a new set of COVID-related health guidelines. And Corey Hudson, one of our administrators there, created a form in about 30 minutes to accomplish this task. And they quickly processed thousands of submissions to meet this need. At Southern Connecticut, Amy Taylor automated a whole variety of research and COVID-related processes like this last year. By her estimate, Kuali Build is enabling them to save $675,000 in employee time per year. At Davidson College, they created a contactless check-in for their students who needed to be tested weekly for COVID. And so their students are able, courtesy of Kuali Build and some other systems that they put together, their students can come in and scan their ID card and check in for their weekly COVID test. Davidson has a goal of getting 90% of their paper and PDF processes into Build in 1 year by this summer, and they're more than 70% of the way there. If there's a contest for which school has processed the most submissions, Davidson is owning that place right now. They've processed over 62,000 submissions in this past year. They are really getting a lot out of a Build. At Western University in Canada, they deployed a wide variety of solutions, including a late admin course request, an accommodation request, a graduate teaching assistantship application, and to date, they've processed more than 10,000 submissions. At UMass Amherst, they had a process that they've been trying to automate for a while, and they've tried it in other systems and could not get it to work. And they were able to implement this very complex process in Build. And if there's an award for the largest, most complex workflow by a customer, UMass Amherst owns that award hand down. They really pushed our workflow engine to its limits, but they got it working, and they have their process working. They've also done a ton of work at integrating data between Kuali Build and Kuali Research, so that they auto-fill data on their Build forms with data coming from Kuali Research. At UC San Diego, in the first week of January, they released a form that students could use to change from a letter grade to a pass-fail grade. And within the month of January, they processed over 7,700 submissions just for this one application. At the University of Hawaii, they've been taking a grassroots approach to Build, and an individual in one of their graduate studies departments got their hands on Build, and in a very quick process, built 22 applications and deployed them in time for last fall semester. And all of this without the CIO even knowing that it happened. Our apologies, Garrett. There are many more stories like this. It's these stories that really get me going personally. It has just been thrilling for me personally to see how this product's been adopted and to see all of our customers just diving in and taking advantage of this and solving problems and doing really important, meaningful things. And that has been just for me personally, just a great blessing, and I'm really grateful for everything that you've contributed to our product this last year. I'll turn the time back to Joel. He's going to talk about some of what's coming in the future.
There we go. Thank you, Tad. As you know, Kuali Build is meant to be something in the middle of simple to use and complex but powerful. So we think of ourselves as easy and powerful, and we want to continue to do things that make us more powerful, but also continue to be easy to use. So we'll talk about a couple things. Number one, for the next year, we're really continuing to focus on connecting. So connecting, number one, means integrations with both, in particular, this is talking about external systems. We want to make it really easy to integrate with Google Sheets or Salesforce or Canvas or Banner or whatever the systems are that you need to be able to integrate with. Second, we have a new product that we're working on that we've not released yet, but we anticipate will be released at least for some customers this year, called Lasso. And the idea with Lasso is that it's a visual way to create multi-step integrations and transformations of data. So the idea is that I could create an input that's maybe something that comes from a build form. And I could rename data that I get from that. I could split that object. I could transform the data. I could pick different fields. I could stringify things, turn them from a number into a string. I could put it back into a different service and pull data out of another service and put that data together and have that output show up in a workflow or show up in a build form, or have that output go back to another integration of one of my enterprise systems. So that's the idea with Lasso. It's actually, we're using the product internally today, and it's really, really, really powerful. So for example, when we create a new sandbox for people in Build, we use this tool in order to do it. And it has to talk to a variety of different systems, but we use the tool to do it. So we're quite excited about Lasso, and you'll be seeing more about that this year. Also, we want to make it easier to connect between Build apps. So today, when I build one Build app and a second Build app, the only way to integrate those is to create an integration into one of them and use that integration in a gadget on the other one. We want to make that connection between the Build apps inherent in the system. The second is managing. We want to improve the ability to manage the experience. So an example of that is today you don't have the ability within workflow to get a reminder. I have not approved the thing that I'm supposed to approve in 2 weeks. So now an email reminder goes out. That included in that will be or associated with that will be the ability to have timeouts. So the idea there is you can set a timeout on a workflow node. You would get a notification that you haven't touched this in 2 weeks. We're going to automatically either reject the proposal or accept the proposal, depending on how you configured it for that particular node. And then delegates. This is really important. We've heard that message loud and clear, that I need the ability when I'm going on vacation to be able to set somebody up to delegate the authority to make approvals or rejections in my absence. Now, there's a way to do this. So we do have a workaround, but we want it to be a more formal part of the process to do delegates. Next is governance. We want to improve the ability to govern. So that means we have a pretty granular set of access controls now. We want to improve the access controls for the integrations themselves. So we realize that that's a really important thing. As more and more of your enterprise data and integrations come into the system, We want those integrations to be really finely controlled, and for you have the power to allow form designers to have access to some of the integrations, but not access to some of the other ones. Distributed administration. So as we get more and more departments that are starting to use this system, and more IT that also wants to use the system, right now we treat those as pretty separate sandboxes, but we'd like to improve the experience for having a mixed environment where IT is managing, but departments also have their own apps, to allow that distributed management to be really clean and easy to use. If you have any questions, we're going to open this up for questions. So if you have questions about the future, please save those and we'll talk about those at the end of the presentation. I do want to do a quick, suffice it to say, I'm really excited about what we're doing this year. Like the new functionality, we've added additional engineers to the team. We've added additional design support to the team. You're going to see the amount of stuff that we're doing start to pick up. So we're really excited. Now, right now we're training new people. So that's taking a little bit of a hit on productivity, but we'll continue with the same zero bug policy, the same types of development practices that we've been using in the past. I want to talk quickly, give you a session review. So these are some of the sessions that you might want to attend. So we've color coded them so that you know the difference for registrars or individual builders, or if you're focused on research or just general or IT or risk managers. These are the sessions that will be relevant to you. So look at the colors that you care about. They're at the bottom as well. And these are some of the sessions that you might want to focus on. So I'm not going to read these off. I'll just let you take a look at them. This is today.
Hey, Joel, this is Shannon. I just want to make one note on the crash course sessions today, which is the first one's right after this session. And then we also have another one Tuesday and Wednesday. We had a cap to who could attend those. Those have been opened. I know some of you weren't able to get in because we reached our limit. So just make sure you jump in them if you wanted to register for those courses and you weren't able to.
Thank you, Shannon. The 2:15 is a giant case study session, so I think that will be a fun one. This is for Tuesday. 11 o'clock is another case study session. We always want to highlight our customers. When our customers have prepared for a conference, they're always great. So I hope you're able to attend Davidson's session tomorrow. This GraphQL will be a little bit nerdy, but really interesting. This is Wednesday. So if you're interested in integration, this smart gadgets one would be a good one at 11 o'clock. For research folks, 12 o'clock. Is this 2:15 a case study, Shannon?
It is a presentation by Katie. She did a webinar on that topic. Awesome. And she's redoing the webinar because it was so popular.
Awesome. Thank you. Thursday, we'll have a more detailed roadmap session at 2 o'clock on Thursday. And then at 11 o'clock on Thursday, we're doing a panel with several different CIOs. We're really excited about really thoughtful, smart CIOs, and we'll be talking about what's happening to technology. It won't really be build specific, although one of the CIOs on that panel is a build customer, Vince Kellen from UCSD. So we're quite excited about this.
And Joel, the 12 o'clock session on that day on Thursday is 3 institutions presenting. So it is a case study type of session.
Yeah, make sure to make time for this 12 o'clock. Thank you. And then we're doing a contest again. A year or so ago, we did a contest where we offered people who had ideas for what kind of build apps should be built. And we had quite a few submissions. And we had one, let's see, Amherst won this, right?
With Southern Connecticut.
Oh, that's right. Southern Connecticut won this. last time, and they ended up getting a free build app. So we built them the app that they suggested. We're doing the contest again. So if you scan this QR code with your phone, or just go to kuali.co/contest, then we invite you to submit your ideas for build, and you could win a free build app. We will support that. We will help you build that and support it for 2 years at no cost to you. So we hope you put your ideas in. We've got quite a few good ideas already, but please feel free to jump in and put your information into the contest. And then rate this session with Socio. Please click right now and tell us how it could be better. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then we would love to have your questions. The hard ones Tad will answer, and the softballs I will probably answer. Angela, you're welcome for selecting start times that are good for Hawaii attendees. We did that intentionally. Tad, could you give us a refresher on some of the software practices that the build team uses and that we'll be using across the company going forward?
One of the key practices is our zero bug practice. The way the zero bug practice works at its simplest form is that when an engineer finishes a current task, before they pick up another task of feature work or improvements, they will look for any newly reported bugs. And if there are reported bugs, they will work on the bugs to get them down to zero before they pick up on the next task. And so this allows us to, one, keep the quality of our code really high. And two, it allows us to be really responsive to customers. When you report a bug with us, sometimes it will get fixed in that very day, but generally within the week. We're usually hovering in the single digits of known bugs. I didn't check this morning, but the last time I checked, we had 2 bugs in our queue and 2 bugs being worked on, and that was it in terms of bugs that we know about on our product. That's not to imply that we're bug free, that we have no bugs. It's to imply that we are constantly trying to drive the bugs that we know about to zero and get those to zero. One of the really cool things, one of the really cool side benefits of the zero bug practice is it makes new bugs very visible. And so there's a little bit of psychology that kicks in there for our engineers. When a new bug gets popped up, everybody sees it because it's really visible. It's not hidden in a big stack of other bugs. And everybody knows what code it occurred in and likely who wrote that code. And that visibility prompts changes in behavior that are really good for us as a product and good for you. So that's one thing that we do. Another thing we do is continuous deployment. And so continuous deployment means that we have a heavy focus on automated tests to validate our code and make sure that we're not breaking anything as we release it. And we have our release process automated. So it's practically like pushing a button, and then it kicks off all this automated testing. And if it succeeds, it deploys to production. And we actually deploy to our production systems oftentimes multiple times a day. Some might think that adds risk to the production systems, that you're constantly introducing change to the production systems. And we would actually argue it's actually the reverse. It actually reduces risk. Because we release so often, we're really good at releasing without disrupting things. We're really good at doing that without breaking anything or messing anything up. We do on occasion make mistakes, but generally, almost with a high consistency, we're doing this on a regular basis. It also allows us to work in small incremental changes. And so when we can fix a bug and release it, almost immediately, as opposed to waiting for the next batch of work or waiting for the next release. When you do big releases where you bring 3 or 4 months of work together into one release and try to release that all at once, that introduces a lot of risk because there's a high rate of change, a whole lot of change that can introduce a lot of problems. But when you do these small incremental changes, it breaks everything up into these small, low risk changes and allows us to control risk. But I think more importantly, it allows us to deliver our value to you, deliver the things that you're asking for sooner, faster. And that's a good thing generally. The other practice we have is we have a lot of practices. We put a lot of effort into improving our security practices, where we have code reviews. We have systems that are monitoring our systems for intrusion, to look for bad actors hitting our systems. We have things in place to protect against denial of service attacks. We haven't seen one of those yet, but we're that probably will happen someday. So we put a lot more things in there to help us identify when something's when there's an actual security event happening, and to help us detect when somebody's trying to do something they shouldn't be. And that helps us make our systems more secure. That's an area we're going to consistent and constantly invest in. Those are 3 of them.
Thank you, Tad. So there was another question that came up, and the question comes from Angela. Why is the app, why is the app called Kuali, and does the logo relate to that somehow? So I went back to a document from 2003. I believe this was written by Brad. And in the very first, the very beginning of the document, he defines kitchen wok, humble utensil, which plays an important role in a successful kitchen. So, and you'll notice who's right here. Indiana and Hawaii were some of the original members of the Kuali community. So wok is just a humble kitchen utensil, and it's that in the Malaysian language, in various Indonesian languages. And that's the idea, is that it's not meant, Kuali is not meant to be super splashy or prideful, but rather humble and useful. And that's what we try to strive to do. And then the second part of the question is, how is the name Kuali represented in the logo? So the logo, our logo is, our mark is a K, and we have those triangles that you use in a variety of different locations. So we don't, the only way that the logo or our mark has anything to do with Kuali is just the K, but it doesn't actually harken back to the original humble utensil. Thanks for the question. Other questions? What is the planned rollout timeline for the lasso feature? I'll cover that one, Tad. The answer is we don't know. So we are talking to a variety of different schools about the potential of being a design partner. We're really debating and arguing this internally. There are some functionality that we could release right now and get value out of it, but we also want to be really careful that we don't introduce security issues, and that the tool is very, very powerful right now, but it also has a potential to be dangerous if we don't secure it and deal with all that stuff properly. We also want to make sure that we can support the product appropriately. So if this is a strong interest for you, we have a notion of design partnerships where partners will come in, they'll help us with a little bit of funding, but they'll have the ability to give us very early feedback on the Lasso product. If that's something that would be interesting to you, then I invite you to contact me about it. It will be sometime this year, but I don't know exactly when yet. Thanks for the question, Zach. You're welcome. I said Zachary, but Zach or Zachary. Other questions? Tad, I'll ask you a quick question. We only have a few minutes left. Tell me about one of your most dire moments working on Core or Build, one that you feel comfortable sharing, and one of your most exultant, excited moments working on Build.
A dire moment. For me personally, it was about 2.5–3 years ago. I deployed a change to production that broke things, took it down, and that was, and I skipped past some procedures that I shouldn't have, thinking everything was okay and that it was a low risk change, and it broke things, and we scrambled really fast to get things back to normal. But that, for me personally, that there's no feeling quite like it for an engineer to deploy something that breaks things in a serious way. It physically affects me and like hurt me. Like it's we care about that a lot, and we do our very best to avoid those types of things. That's probably my most anxious, dire moment personally. In terms of great moments, I think I'd highlight two. One is when Amy Taylor told us that Kuali Build was her favorite new toy. And that little sentence just warmed my heart to no end. We designed for that answer. We were trying to make enterprise software that can solve real problems, but do it in a way that's actually engaging and enjoyable and a little bit fun. And because we think people will use software more and get more value out of it if it's a little bit fun and entertaining, as well as solving the problems it's trying to solve. And so that we designed for that answer. And when she gave that, we were thrilled. The whole team was thrilled with that answer. Another one for me personally is the one I highlighted with Davidson, to be able to help them in such a significant way with their students in the COVID crisis, to do that contactless scanning thing. That meant a lot to us as a team to be able to have a small part in that and helping them get that result that was so important to their students and their campus.
Thank you, Tad. I appreciate that. We have two more questions, so we're going to have to cover them kind of quickly. Shannon, this one is for you. Question came in: how long does a typical build implementation take?
So we really try to work with the customers and go at their pace. So as slow or as quickly as they want. I would say on average, it probably takes 60 to 90 days, so 2 to 3 months. But we've had some customers that have gone a lot quicker than that, and other customers that have taken a bit longer.
Thank you. It's an exception these days that somebody will buy one of our other products and not also buy Build. So Build has become a great add-on. And when you're in the middle of an implementation and you're implementing a research product or a student product or whatever, and you have this idea, oh, I want to do a thing. Well, CM doesn't do that, or it wasn't meant for that, or protocols doesn't do that. It wasn't meant for that, but you still want to do it. Build is just a great way to come in and really quickly come up with that automation of a business process. So that's happening quite frequently. The second question was, why don't we see more of the Build features in other products? It turns out that we're trying to do more and more of that, both ways. So we have quite a few cool features in our CM products or our protocol products or our CI products that you don't see in the Build product today. Likewise, we have products in the features in the Build product that you don't see in the rest of our products. So we're actively and intentionally doing a lot more sharing than we've done in the past. And this is one of the reasons why Tad is no longer the general manager for the Build product, but instead is now the chief technology officer for the entire company. And that is so that we can do a lot more sharing between the products. And you'll see more and more of that as we go out throughout this year, features that we see start to cross over between the various products. I think that's all the time we have. So thank you for your questions. We're done, right? This was an hour.
Yes.
Okay, y'all, thank you so much for attending the keynote or whatever this is called. And we look forward to seeing you all week. If you have any questions, please reach out. If you have any questions for me, I'm joel@kuali.co. Reach out to anyone that you see. We look forward to seeing you this week and teaching you more about Build and, more importantly, learning from you. So thanks for everyone. Take care.
Hi, everyone.